A new era for boxing on Channel 5 continues. Nathan Gorman faces Thomas Salick for the IBF International Heavyweight Championship, whilst Josh Kelly makes his return. Watch Britain's best prospects in The Big Fight Live. Friday at 9, exclusive to Channel 5 and My5.
This is Matt for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined for the first time in a while. Mr. Big Time himself, Fabio Wardley. Fabio?
I like that. I haven't got a nickname yet, so I might start using that. Fabio Big Time Wardley, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? You should do. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about that? Because you don't have a nickname. Have you ever thought about
People ask me that. People ask me all the time. And I just think I'd rather, like, I was saying for ages, I just might let one just come naturally, but I'm like 13 fights in now, so maybe one's not coming. Maybe I'm gonna have to figure one out on my own, but I'm not too fussed about it. I'll have a look. I'll see what the team comes up with.
Big Time.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll keep that one. That's a plan B. If I haven't got any other ideas, then I think it might be Big Time.
Okay, no. Last time we spoke, I believe you said you were going to have an extended period out the ring just to sort of preserve your career there, because obviously the injuries that you had. Was it a hand injury you said to me you had? Was it a shoulder?
Back. So I had a back and an elbow injury that were both, the back one was quite serious at the kind of back end kind of autumn of last year, was relatively serious, prevented me doing a lot and prevented me training at all, really. Something I just had to figure out and sort out with a team of people to help kind of fix me and put me back together. But that's fixed, near on non-existent now, no problems there, which is fantastic. And just the elbow one is just more of a maintenance thing, something you just we have to regularly maintain and look after and make sure it's good. But aside from that, I'm feeling good, actually, feeling really nice.
So have you had to go to any surgery or out like that, or are you taking injections to your elbow? What are you doing to help?
No surgery, and that was the point of the break, really, was to avoid that, because surgery is obviously quite a drastic solution to a problem, where we wanted to kind of exhaust pretty much all the other options before we finally went, okay, fine, surgery then. And we managed to do that with a combination of rest and obviously targeted training to help relieve the areas that were overstressed and causing problems. And credit to me and kind of the physio team that I have around me, they've smashed that and we've done really well, especially on the back thing. Like I say, it's non-existent now, to where it was a point where I was like, I could barely get up and move some days and things, whereas now I'm completely back to normal, back to deadlifting really heavy, near on PBs and things like that. So it's good. Done a full 180.
Yeah, nice. Well, how's that affected? How long have you sort of been on the back burner then, in terms of punching a bag or sparring and things like that? Did that just completely non-existent for a couple of months then? How's that been?
Yeah, it was so I picked up the back injury going into the Nick Webb fight, probably even before the beginning I started that Nick Webb fight camp. I had it going into that. So at that point is when I had to get some spinal injection to kind of just numbness, just to numb, so I could get through the pain, get through the camp and get through the fight, obviously. So it was more of a plaster on a problem than an actual solution. It was just stick something on it for a second, help me get through, and then we'll figure it out after. And thankfully that worked. I got through the fight, still won, still did okay. And then afterwards I was like, right, okay, time off now. We need to reassess and just fix this before it becomes a bigger problem. And thankfully, like I say, we was able to get through. But yeah, I wasn't able to punch, lift weights or anything for months.
That's a bit modest of you. Did okay. It was a blistering knockout, wasn't it? Modest of you.
Well, take it
a knockout.
If you take it as the whole, for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, I wasn't doing too well. So you kind of have to take it all as a whole.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I was speaking to Eddie a couple of days ago in London, and he mentioned, I think, about the undercard of Chisora Pulev, saying that he expects you to be on that. Is that the plan then? Are you going to just shake off a bit of ring rust and then head into rest of this year with some big fights?
Yeah, to be honest, we're aiming for this one to be a relatively big fight itself as well. Like I say, the one I had in Feb was more so the warm-up and the kind of swing back into camp and make sure everything's working again and make sure everything's ticking over fine. And that went really well. So this is the one that's a bit bigger, a high level of opponent, someone good, someone with a bit about them. And then we can move into something kind of a little bit more at the back end of the year.
What are the sort of names you're looking at for this one? Because I think we all expect a certain opponent later on in the year. But what are the sort of names you're looking at? Are you looking at people who've been at world level prior? What are the sort of bucket you're going for?
Yeah, that's the realm. Previous world title contenders, those people that have mixed that kind of top 20-ish level for a while, or were mixed in around them areas, been in with big guys, big punchers, whatever, and kind of done the rounds and got through. They're the people we're aiming for. So someone's still probably in the back end of their career, but still with a lot to give.
Yeah, enough to obviously give you the test that you need at this stage of your career as well.
Yeah, exactly that. Because like I said, we've been aiming to get rounds out of a fight for a while now, for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 fights, and it's just not seemed to have come. So we need to kind of push the envelope a bit, push for someone a bit higher, a bit more experienced, a bit more durable, and go for them.
So everybody's sort of expecting, once you get this fight out of the way and once Nathan Gorman fights this next Friday coming, that you two will end up clashing later on in the year, maybe, I don't know, August, September, October, whenever it will be for the British. Is that the plan? Have you had any sort of, I don't know, inkling or been told, look, we can both make this fight, we just need to get through his next fights? Because that seems to have been the plan for you for ages now. Yeah,
of course, that's been the plan for a while for me, definitely. In terms of whether it was going to be Nathan or not, he seemed like the most obvious candidate. Whoever, to be honest, I'm not fussed. I just want to push on to that British title, but kind of the board have thrown a bit of a spanner in the works with releasing the circular the other day, and they've put together a fight for me and Nathan Gorman, but they've put it for my English title and not for the British title. So it's a bit like, why? Both of us. Yeah, that's the first thing. Why? It doesn't that doesn't make sense from them, considering one, we're both past that level considerably. Like with Nathan already boxing for the British, for me fighting previous world title contenders and people of a high level, I've won my English belt and I've defended it all in the same time. Joyce has never defended his British belt at all, so why am I being asked to do mine for a second time, where he's able to just do his again and just hold on to it with no kind of challenge whatsoever, which doesn't really make much sense. So I think once we're both, me and Nathan are both through our respective fights, I think that's a conversation for us to have with the board, and kind of move that in a different direction, and we can clearly say to them, we feel we're both past the English title. Yeah, because obviously Joe's now basically knocking on the door for a world title shot. He's there. Where he gets them shots with, obviously, Usyk, Joshua, and however, if we don't know what Tyson Fury is going to do. I don't think anybody knows what he's going to do. He's retired, but a lot of people will say as soon as he finds out who the winner is of that fight, they'll try and make an undisputed. So you'd think that you two guys, especially because you are past that level, will get the opportunity. Assuming that's what you want next after this fight, then that fight with Nathan for that title, or if not, like another testing fight for you. Yeah, definitely. I think that the British title versus Nathan or anyone but for the British is kind of the most ideal next step for me. If that's just not feasible to put together, then there are other roads we can go down. There are other avenues to kind of look at in terms of what we can do next. We can still be in big competitive fights with some sort of belt on the line. It just may not be the British, which will be unfortunate, but there's always different roads to go down. What if, like I said, if not, then are you just going to try and look at climbing the rankings to try and put yourself in a position in a year or two's time where you are sort of knocking on the doors further up? Because how many fights do you think you are off that world level, that elite level? How many fights? In them top high numbers, maybe another 5 more, something like that. Because at the same time, I'm still trying to mix in a bit of experience, a bit of kind of tutelage in the rounds and picking up some things. So I need to mix in between taking big steps, also not just big step after big step. It needs to be a big step, maybe then another very similar step, then another big step, and just kind of double down in those areas.
Yeah, 100%. Let me get your thoughts on the main event of the fight card that you're going to be on anyway. Derek Chisora, rematch with Pulev. I saw Pulev at the press conference. He looks in great shape already. What do you make of that fight? How Dell fights now, I think, is completely different to how he fought the first time round, and he's now in better shape. How do you see that fight going?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? There's this kind of undertone of, do we really want this fight because of how disappointing the first one was? Because obviously when you put them two together, you expect fireworks all over, and the first one just didn't kick off like that. So this one's with kind of the general public looking at it, they're a bit like, how's this going to go? But I do think they're in very different places in their careers to where they both were 6 years ago. Like you saying, Pulev looks in great shape. Chisora has always been entertaining in the last, I can't remember the last time he had a boring fight. So he's always been in the thick of it. He always pushes the envelope for a fight to turn it into something. So I think it should be a really good night. I think it should be a really good night of boxing, a good fun fight for everyone to watch.
So who do you think wins?
I think if Chisora can maintain the pressure, I think he will. I think he can. I think he can push on, especially at the O2, especially with the crowd and the fans. That's an extra. People don't understand. That's for him, especially. That's an extra 2 or 3 gears. That's an extra 2 or 3 levels of. Once that, Derek Chisora, once that gets going and he hears that, he hits a new few gears, and that's able to push him on. I think people underestimate how much impact that has on him and when he's fighting.
Yeah, I think he's been calling out for a pact or two ever since this pandemic sort of been slowing down. That's what he's sort of been craving. I know he's had the rematch with Joseph Parker, albeit Manchester was a good atmosphere, but his home ground and territory that he loves is that O2 where it's bouncing for him. That can make a big difference for him, can't it?
Yeah, massive difference. Like even in Manchester, don't get me wrong, he took a lot of punishment in the Joseph Parker fight, a lot of punishment. But you were even still then, and with the crowd that was still behind him, but wasn't his kind of home sweet home crowd. But even then, that crowd picked him up, kept him going, kept him in the fight, kept him in moments. So once he gets to that O2 crowd with kind of his home fans, his London fans, that is going to be another gear for him.
Absolutely. Want to get your thoughts on Anthony Joshua. He's just got a new trainer added to the camp to work alongside Angel Fernandez, Robert Garcia, very experienced former world champion himself. Do you think at this stage that he can have a big impact on Joshua, enough to change his fortunes in this rematch?
Maybe big. I don't know. Big is a hard one. I don't know if it'd be big. Can he have an impact, and can he make some changes to it? Yes, definitely. Can he do it in the time frame given and enough to change the outcome of the fight and how people view it's going to go? Is a harder question to answer. Robert Garcia is a great trainer, very experienced and knows his stuff. So definitely with enough time with AJ, he can make those improvements, those adjustments, and push him on to a more competitive and a more winning stance in that fight. But whether he's able to do it in the time frame given, it just wonders the question why AJ didn't get him in sooner to kind of go through things. And obviously Robert will have his own commitments in terms of his own fighters and things like that. But I think AJ is obviously, he's got the clout and the money to push for him to be in his camp longer and things. So maybe he should have done that maybe a bit earlier to have more time to work together in gel. But I definitely think Robert will make an impact. Just whether it will be enough to change, obviously, the outcome is a different question.
I think I read that he'd said that there's almost like a mental problem or a mental blockage there with AJ. And I sort of, in my own opinion, he seems to sort of overthink quite a bit of things, whether it be outside the ring and inside the ring. Do you think that that's part of the problem going into this rematch, and that it was in the first fight, that maybe he's just overthought the obstacle that's in front of him? Because he did come out and he tried to box him, which surprised me. It surprised everyone, I think. In this rematch, it's not as simple as just going out there and blasting him out, because Usyk's obviously world level, ultimate sort of boxing encyclopedia. But do you think he needs to just find that sort of, I don't know, that big man within him and just say, look, I'm the big man in this fight. I need to show him that I am. let's just get it on kind of thing. You know, really bring it down to that, you know, grassroots sort of going for him.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where in the previous fights, you've seen AJ at his most comfortable, as when he's bigger, more forceful, more imposing, powerful. Like, although the slight change of him to kind of morph into more of this boxer has been good to see, it's also detracted from certain areas of his game. And I think that's the thing that obviously Robert Garcia mentioned is a big factor to him, that you saw a lot of the times in fights and stuff where he's not winning and losing, he's looking for a lot of reassurance in his, at the time it was obviously McCracken, and looking at him to give him a lot of answers and a lot of information to solve this problem that seemingly he wasn't able to solve on his own. Which may speak to obviously some self-doubt, and he needs more reassurance and things. Maybe it's not ideal for Robert to come out and say that as well, because if I'm U16, then I'm thinking, okay, cool. Your own coach has said along the lines that you're potentially maybe mentally fragile, so that's plan A, is to wear you down and put that pressure on you. So maybe that's not ideal for him to say, but if Robert does his job and reinforces him mentally, then it doesn't matter.
It's an interesting one, because Usyk, he's not that character. In the week of build up to the fight, I know he was in quite a leery suit, quite quiet, quite unassuming, and everyone sort of looked at his performances against Chisora and against, I can't remember, the name's escaping me, the first guy he fought, I should know it, but and everyone was sort of going off them performances. But it's an interesting one, isn't it, this rematch?
Yeah, it is. It is a very interesting one, and especially, well, you have to take into account Usyk and his mental state at the moment, obviously with everything going on in his home country, how his training camp is set up, and is he able to have access to all the people in his camp that he's had to before, and the obviously effects of having family and friends back home and things like that. So there's a lot of variables to this fight, which makes it interesting, to be honest.
Yeah, I want to get your opinion on this, and this is something I wish I'd have asked Eddie the other day. So obviously, with everything that's going on in Usyk's home country, which is absolutely miles bigger than boxing, horrific, and it's obviously, I think there was, I can't remember who said that his weight was up or down a certain amount, and it was, you know, not doing him any good, etc. And does it seem weird to you that this fight is now taking place in a country where it's not got the best maybe human rights record, and we've gone from, you know, and he's obviously been fighting in his own country, but yet we're having this fight in a country which has got, you know, a really bad sort of human rights record? Or is it just a case of obviously money talks? It just doesn't. It seems a bit weird to me.
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious thing, is that it's just money. At the end of the day, it's just money pays the bills, and especially for maybe Usyk, and he's at that point of his career where he thinks that he may have other plans to do with that money, to put into his country, to do certain things, to obviously charity relief efforts and things like that, where he may be thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to do this, and it may not have the best kind of optic, but the benefits I can use with this and take it back home and do X for my family and do X for the country, then maybe it's worth it. So I think that has that potential, but I think it's not so much that's even considered. I think it's seen as boxing, and it's just where's the most money.
Yeah, it's the world's a strange place at the minute. Have you got any other news? I know I watch a lot of your Instagram stuff. Your coach must absolutely hate you, by the way. I watched that and just think, how's he not like drop kicks him out of the camp or whatever yet? Like, what was he doing over there? He was sleeping, and you went and how was he sleeping, by the way?
He just took a nap in the middle of the day in the car. Like I had my own S&C session, which I was going to do, and we were training after I was done. And he was already at the gym, but he just went, I'm going to go to my car for a bit. And I was all right, no worries. And then I finished my S&C session, and I was looking for him. And I was like, he said he was going to go to his car, but that was like half an hour ago. So I went out and had a look, and he was just soundo in the front seat. And I was like, I'm not having this. We're a team, mate. I'm in there grafting my ass off, and you're just having naps. No.
No, you play with that man too much.
Yeah, I do.
One day, I can't remember what the funniest thing was. I think you've got a lot of it on CCTV, don't you?
Yeah. Cameras in the gym.
The other one was, I think you put loads of stuff outside his car.
That was my favorite one.
What did you do? What was it?
They're So they're like 20 kg big watering cans.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
There was about 30 of them. So and for starters, I looped them all around his car. And then secondly, I put like maybe about 10 inside his car as well. And I just left him to just have to fucking slug them all out. And that was the closest he's got to actually being like angry about something. He was like proper like, nah, this is taking the piss, but I was pissing myself. That was so funny.
Yeah, you pushed the boundary between that train of fighter relationship a bit. But...
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll push it as far as it can go. He's probably going to snap one day and take me out, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, probably, especially if they catch that on CCTV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll be at your fight anyway, so we'll catch up fight week. And yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, you can get through yours, Nathan can get through his, and we'll get it for the British.
Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. Anyways,
anyway, Fabio, appreciate your time as always, and I'll catch you later.
Cool. Cheers, bud. Thank you. Laters.